Welcome to Tough Lies, the Golfers Podcast with Colin McDougall and Richard Zobel.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tough Lies, the Golfers Podcast. So glad to be with you, so glad to be with my one and only, my partner in golfing crime, Mr. Richard Zobel. How are you?
I am well. Much to discuss, a lot of water under the bridge this past week since we last spoke to our listeners, so let's jump all over this thing right now.
Yeah, let's get fired up. Okay, so I think we should kick it off. We had on the LPGA, we had a major and a major winner, a familiar major winner, Nelly Korda, won by 5, going away. Incredible week, incredible champion. I was doing a little homework before we started tonight. 3rd major, 17 tour victories. I mean, she's flat out an American superstar. I mean, the comparisons of late that I've seen are that she's sort of in Julie Inkster's sort of category, and she is only 27.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is really something. So congrats to her. And I do want to spend a little time talking about Zurich. I do want to spend a little time talking about team golf. And get your thoughts. Also want to mention my observation of the week is kind of LPGA major for sure, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
On the men's side, kind of a wonky week. We get the modified Stableford point system on the Champions Tour. Retief Goosen wins.
Okay.
Retief Goosen wins with a plus 38.
Okay.
or what I would have shot after more birdie juice, I think. But anyways, on a regular scoring system, and then obviously the Zurich Classic with the team pairings and the Fitzpatrick brothers. I mean, it seems like we're talking about one Fitzpatrick or another each week the last little while. But an incredible week for them. So where do you want to get started there, Richard?
Nelly, let's go straight to Nelly Korda. I think that she's obviously, even though in the past year and a half or so she hadn't played to her level, her talent level is above and beyond. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and this is she won by 6 shots. She did talk about this 6-shot lead and how difficult it was, and it's kind of our MindTRAK moment a little bit to talk about that as well. When she is by and far the top player in her ecosystem, and she talks about how difficult it is to and she's talking about the lead, having a difficult time in the lead. We talked about leads and Rory, and we've also talked about him having a difficult time with it as well. And this is where. And I still think even her words, I listened to her words to kind of read between the lines to see where she's at. And she says that she's still out there wanting to win it for others. So again, here she is, top player, and I think her physical ability is good enough where she can just go play and dominate, and she'll probably do that. But she still doesn't have that level of awareness or understanding that it needs to be intrinsic if she wants to stop the pressure of what she wants to pursue. And so that's kind of interesting. We watched Shane Lowry, remember when he was trying to win at the Palm Beaches event earlier on the Florida Swing. He wanted to win it for his little girl because she was there, and that extrinsic and he hit these sideways shots coming in, and it was just so weird for us to think that he hit such a bad shot when he performed so well in the Ryder Cup to make that putt. So these are kind of the interesting things that just because you're a good player or a great player doesn't mean you have your head on straight. And I think there's some room there for Nelly to really accelerate and then separate herself from everybody else.
Yeah, that's a really interesting through line. I hadn't thought about that reference to Lowry, but you're right. And it's sort of interesting that it happens to be this week too, when on the men's side they are playing for others, right? They are paired up, and which is a unique circumstance, right? So here you are, the people who are struggling, playing for themselves. And I think one of the things that great champions are selfish, right? In a certain way, they have to sort of want it bad enough to sort of and be competitive enough to really want to see it through. And sometimes you look for things out on the exterior to try to help you sort of get over that mental hurdle. Oh, I'm trying to do it for them because of, maybe I feel guilty if I win, but
Well, what people are trying to do there, they're trying to, it's an attempt to rid themselves of this pressure right now. And then
Yeah.
if you do it for others, then you're doing it for a good thing. But
Yes.
in my experiences, it backfires. It backfires.
Yeah.
So when I see Nelly talk about that, sure, it's difficult, of course.
Yeah.
It's difficult for Rory. It's
Yeah.
difficult for everybody. But it's kind of like, if I'm able to do it for some other person, then I should be free from this pressure, and it should make it easier. When it does it just doubles it. It doubles it. But she's fantastic.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask this one question. As I think we've sort of got covered, I can scrape it around, but nobody ever looks at my swing and goes, you know what, I want to copy that. I'm not a good sort of swing aficionado technically. I sort of am more of a feel player. Like, just tell me what I should feel and I'll try and do it. But I was curious, like, my observation of Korda's swing is it's about as model a golf swing as you could.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful golf swing. She is athletic, and
Yeah.
well, look where she comes from. She's
Yeah.
got good genetics.
Yeah.
As an athlete and with her family, but she structurally has a wonderful golf swing. I really enjoy watching her play compared to not so much for the rest of the LPGA, but like she is someone you really can sink your teeth into and watch her perform. And we know that she may look calm on the outside, but she's going like 100 miles an hour on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we can move on and talk about the Zurich in a moment, but I did want to sort of leave with this thought on the Chevron and the LPGA. I myself would love to see the LPGA sort of reach a new height, and what I find frustrating, observationally, is women's sports in general have shot through the roof in terms of scale, popularity, money. I mean, they're talking about expanding the WNBA. Like, there's a lot of money flowing in, and I don't see commensurate growth in what's happening with the LPGA. I do know that they have a new commissioner, and I'm hopeful that they sort of improve their path. But yeah, it'd be really nice to see that side of the game pick up in terms of the content quality, in terms of the storylines, in terms of everything. I think it'd be
now. Did she win 1.3 million?
Yeah, I think that's right. It's a big number. Yes,
good number.
Major number. Yeah,
major.
I mean, and good on Chevron for putting that.
Yeah, Chevron. Yeah. I think. Yeah,
I think they got the money to cover that.
I think so.
I think they can cover. Yes. So also great story this week. The Fitzpatrick brothers. Sort of quick synopsis for those who didn't catch it. Team event, the Zurich Classic. Mixed format in that it's best ball one day, alternate shot the next day, times two, and you pair up with a PGA Tour player. By the list of players, it is definitely not at the attracting many of the top players, unfortunately. And in spite of that, I would say it was a very dramatic finish. Probably the best story that you could hope for happen, but also I think some measure of controversy around the sort of the means through which Alex Fitzpatrick has now garnered status on the PGA Tour. And for those who don't know, by virtue of this win, Alex, who's Matt's brother, they win this tournament. He gets an automatic 2-year exemption. So he's got basically effectively a PGA Tour card for the next 2 years. He gets into the Players. He gets into the PGA Championship. He's completely changed his life, and he got into this tournament through a sponsor's exemption. And so I'm curious your overall thoughts. And is it really something controversial, or is it just hey, this is the rules?
Yeah, it's. I don't think it's controversial. It's been in play for 50 years. I think the rule perhaps should be looked at and changed. So let me just go back to the start of this thing this past week on Matt and Alex Fitzpatrick playing in the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, which is a great city. I love that. Matt is on such a burn right now, winning Valspar, our RBC Heritage, and now the Zurich Classic.
Yeah.
Now it's fascinating with Matt Fitzpatrick that he performed tremendously and contributed to what is Alex Fitzpatrick's official win on the PGA Tour.
Yes.
Now, with that official win, like instead of he had a airline ticket to Turkey tonight to pick up the DP World Tour. Well, instead of that, he's flying south to Miami for this week's Cadillac Signature Series, and he's in every Signature Series after that. So back in the day, and this is what I alluded to earlier, back when I was playing, say, in the early 80s, there were players on the PGA Tour that won the team tournament, and it counted as official win. Their money wasn't that big a deal, but they got 2 years to play. So it was and they had a problem. A lot of them, because they've never won on the PGA Tour before, and the mixed team, there's a bit of an asterisk beside that win. And they put a lot of pressure on themselves to win, to validate this win, and it can become a pressure situation for that, depending on their perspective. But Alex, that's a challenge that he's going to have to deal with. Now, the other thing, as it relates to the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, I think it's a dead man walking. Earlier this week, we got word from Brian Rolapp that Hawaii's gone and Kapalua is gone. Now, those are successful tournaments, and we understand that they're going to have this contraction, and those are the first ones to the low-hanging fruit to change. Well, so is the team tournament. There's a reason why there weren't any big names in that tournament. And if you looked at the galleries, they were very thin and far and few between, and the only big name player. Team tournaments don't work because the big name players don't play them. They have to, all the players, they set their schedule, they have all the top ones they're going to play in, but they got to find these ones where they don't typically play, and they're good tournaments to take off because they need to rest and recuperate for the big tournaments. So that's why Fitzpatrick was the only name player, or brand name player, to play this week. The rest of the people, and you're looking at all these names, and you don't know if it's Corn Ferry Tour or not, or a PGA Tour event. So
I had a few sort of observations, and I wanted to sort of talk to you specifically about sort of team play. But before we get, first of all, I was looking, I have these observations of players that I watch, and I can't help it. It's just my nature, improv background, whatever. But I looked at Alex Fitzpatrick, and to me, he looks like Jason Day got caught in the dryer. Like
a little puffed up. He's
like a puffed up but smaller version. Like he's like it's like too much static links. I don't know. Anyways, and then there's I think his name's Hayden Springer. He's like I'm pretty sure it's Hayden Springer.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. I don't know these young guys.
He was on there. To me, I was like, that is quite possibly the whitest white guy I've ever seen. Like, I mean, holy camole, he's like, and he's in New Orleans, like where it's hot, and and he's like a walking at a bound steak. I mean, it was, I was like, oh my God, that guy must just be burning up down there. Anyhow, so I wanted to spend a moment talking about the team side of things, because I want to understand, and this is sort of the dive I want to take, is we see certain times in golf and in the calendar where team golf is about as exciting and awesome as can be. The Ryder Cup, Solheim Cup is awesome. Even the President's Cup has its moments. Usually it's sort of a bit one-sided, but it can't, it does present, really good players playing team golf. And then and even to some extent, I wouldn't say as good, but you watch TGL, and it's team-based, and there's some camaraderie and some mojo with that. And I just wondered sort of, then you contrast it with the Zurich this week, which I think we would agree sort of definitely a weaker side of an event, and others where it just doesn't seem to work. So what is the problem? Like, what is it about team golf that does or doesn't work?
Well, I think it doesn't.
And I should say, sorry, and Live Golf was living or dying in part on a team format, right?
Well, I think the the team golf doesn't work on, or has historically it hasn't worked on the PGA Tour. Let's put it that way. And historically, the top names don't play in it.
Yeah.
I think that's the issue right there. When you see we watch team golf at the Ryder Cup, it's exciting as hell. The President's Cup, because the Europeans don't, the international team doesn't compete as much as they should and make it exciting, so people don't get excited about it. The mix, I used to play in the team event with Jim Nelford back in the 80s. Right, and then in the mixed team tournament, I was fortunate enough to get paired with Kathy Whitworth on we played together.
Oh,
and
no way.
Yeah. And it was so
for those
exciting.
who don't know, Kathy Whitworth, one of the best
the winningest
women golfers
professional
of all time.
Of all golf, all professional.
Unbelievable player.
She was a lovely lady, and I typically I wasn't if I was offered to play, I probably would take a pass on it as well.
Right.
But because Kathy Whitworth was looking for a player, and they asked me to play with her, and she said, "Yeah, I'd like to play with Richard Zokol." I said, "I'm all over this thing," and I'd crawl over glass to play with Kathy Whitworth.
No kidding. Yeah.
And that was very exciting. But I think historically, if the top players, if you got, back in the day, Tiger playing in it and Phil and the big names, it would work. There'd be dramatic moments and moments that would save it. But historically, in recent years, it's the perfect tournament to take off. Like you've just had, you come through, the Masters and RBC Heritage and so you've got to take off because next week's the next one in Doral in Miami. It's this you've got to rest. So this is the time where you take off. So unfortunately, it's getting short shrift, and I think it is dead man walking. There is no way this event's going to survive, particularly in the contraction that's going on in New Orleans. I do want to spend, after we go through the details of the competition, I want to talk a little bit about New Orleans. I loved it. They're my favorite city.
Oh, really? Okay.
So I think it works, but it just hasn't had the proper life opportunity in the past few decades.
I think it's probably that's where it lands. Why has TGL got any sort of modicum of success? I think it's because it's got named players who are playing.
Well, let me ask you: do you watch TGL?
Yeah, I've watched it for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Do you like it?
I think it's on the TGL side. It's funny. I get the notion of what they're doing
or trying to do.
I think you're trying to do, and the real truth is, and I don't know how to tell you this, but we're not the audience for it. Right. It's got
totally.
Tech, it's got younger players. It's got indoors. It's only an hour on television, so you don't have to invest yourself in the same way. I think that's all of the underpinning of the logic of what they're doing. And for us, and that's part of, what I think why golf content more broadly isn't that great is because most of the time it's meant to be inoffensive to all demographics without sort of focusing on a particular one or a few. Because once you focus in, you alienate the others and people don't watch. But in this case, I think that's what they're going after. And, we'll see if it lasts. I think it's got, we'll see.
I watched it I think the first time when Tiger was playing it, and I just had to, I wasn't really attracted to it, a different, completely demographic. Yeah. But then when Tiger got on there, remember on the first shot he hit, he had 100 yards and he hits his pitch wedge, and it goes, and after Tiger hits his shot, he's loving it. From his perspective, he executed it perfectly, and he knows he hits those 100-yard shots, and it went 119. Yeah, and Tiger got shocked like that, and it went, that ain't Tiger. That's a mistake on the technology.
Which is, I've got a long history with simulators and so forth. And you're right, it can glitch, but it's part of the cost of doing business.
And we'll see. I mean, they're trying to get the age average lower for the future, and that's one way to obviously attract them.
Yeah. So I wanted to
you want to
take
talk about
this.
like match play and the alternate shot? Do you want to go there?
Well, I had a quick thought on that. So one quick thing on the format was I would have much rather if they switched the format days, because I think having all four firing, if you're going to go all in on a birdie fest, let them fire arrows all four.
Play their best
last
ball
day,
in the final round.
Best ball. You know, they shot 57 for goodness sakes on the second line. That should have been the final, right? In my view.
I agree.
But yeah, so yeah, let's talk about team play. What are your thoughts on sort of the alternate shot?
Everyone knows if you've ever played alternate shot, particularly like in the Dunhill Cup, you anytime you have a team member, it compounds the problem for the golfer. And you're constantly, you don't want to say you're sorry. You it's okay. We're as golfers, we're used to failing and dealing with ourselves, and we're able to a lot of people have use bad language and bad self-talk. But what you don't want to do is let your playing partner down. And when you're playing internationally, you don't want to let not only your playing partner down, and you're constantly saying, and most people, when they get into an alternate shot situation, part of their tactics and strategy is to say, it goes without saying, if we hit a bad shot, you don't have to say you're sorry. And we were trying to circumvent the player from feeling bad.
Yeah.
And because the pressure when you miss a shot, you do feel bad that you let your partner down. And also too is when like it may be putting, you may not putt for 5 holes.
Yeah, it's true.
Just in situations
and
where
all of a sudden you got a 12-footer, and it's like, what do I do? It's like I haven't hold a putter before.
So the situation in the format of alternate shot makes it a higher stake pressure situation, which is good. It's good to watch, but it's not as exciting. But I think you're right. When two guys have the freedom to attack the hole, you see a lot more birdies in the outcome.
Yeah. One of those things I think maybe a lot of listeners don't necessarily know about golf in the UK, Europe in particular, Europe, UK in particular, Scotland, is there's a lot of team play.
Yes,
it's a matter of course.
Clubs play matches.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to do that once. I lucked on to play around at Muirfield of all places on a member day, which is awesome. But it's like it's a limit of 2 balls. There's 4 of us, so you're playing alternate shot, and it was super fun and super fast. And what I learned from that was, you could have a really wonderful experience playing every other shot, and that Scotland invented golf as a means to just as an excuse to go drinking, because when we went there
between the rounds and after
talk about birdie juice, like it was before lunch, before the round, after the first round, before the second round. We had a wonderful time, but man, was that an experience. But it's I think one of the reasons why Europe always does well in the Ryder Cup, they grow up playing team golf. And I think they have a bit of that's in part why you see singles performance with the Americans really well, and you see the team play, Europeans are a lot more comfortable. And I think
I like that. I haven't heard that one before, but I like it.
Hey.
I like that. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Cool. Well, and I did want to pitch you an idea around team play, but in part sort of drawing a line to the conversation we had last week, sort of the demise of Liv, and I was sort of saying we had this discussion around, okay, we're going to reduce the PGA Tour season ostensibly to 26 weeks, 4 majors, 22 PGA Tour events, right? So half the season or half the calendar year.
Yes.
So what's going to happen the other part, right? And anybody who knows me knows I'm an idea factory. It can it annoys the hell out of my wife, and but. One of the things I was thinking about, and I wanted to get your thought on it, and I didn't want to tell you before we had this podcast. Here's my high level thought. I think in those call it the shoulder season, because it's really September to January, I think, is going to be the time when there isn't meaningful PGA Tour golf. They're gonna start when the Super Bowl is over, and they're gonna run until the end of August, and that's gonna be kind of ostensibly the year for the PGA Tour, is my instinct. So the question is, well, what do you do with the other kind of half of the year? And one thing that struck me is I think under the right circumstances, as we've seen, team golf can be very compelling. It hasn't worked in some other instances, but in this case, let's imagine for a moment. The landscape in college sports has changed dramatically. College golf is a team sport. There is an individual champion, but it's team based, and many of the colleges have their own golf course. And I look at it and say, and the landscape has changed where you can make money playing college sports. And so I don't know what the exact formula would be. It's sort of a high level thought, but one, if you said, well, what's the second most popular sport in America to the NFL? It's college football.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's college football. And I look at it and say, well, why is that? It's mainly sort of very highly motivated, brand oriented, frankly, from a marketing perspective.
History,
legacy, all those things tied to the school, right? And I think if you created a collegiate, whether it's people in college or people from that college, my guess is, I had guys on my college team who, in my view, had every opportunity and ability to make it on the PGA Tour. Not everybody does. My guess is you had a bunch of players when you played that were certainly as good as you. You made it, they didn't.
Oh, no, I was one of those guys that no one ever thought I'd make it.
Yeah, see? So I just think of it, if you tie the sort of the team aspect to the school and you have nothing but dead air in those windows, you could build something. The biggest flaw that happened to the USFL versus the NFL was they decided to go head to head with the NFL, which is famously a terrible decision driven by the current president of the United States, actually. But I think with the right structure, a team-based they broadcast the national championships in college, and I find that interesting play. The other thing that's true is it's men and women college teams, right? I think you could do something really interesting with that element from a content perspective. Again, not for our demographic necessarily, right? But for the college age and for the schools that are tied to it.
Well, it's got the right demographic from an age perspective. There's no question about that. But I think just off the top of my head is again, it's not the team sport. And first of all, football, college football has got the history. It's been around over a century. They've been playing. I don't even know when the first college football game happened, but it was a long time ago. And there's tremendous history on that. And I think that again, the PGA Tour. What I think the PGA Tour is going to do with it, they're going to gather up those open weeks and probably put their Korn Ferry Tour assets in there. And expand on it, so the feeder system into the PGA Tour.
Maybe that's seen to be better content. I just think a lot of people are going to look at it as opportunity. But yeah, my I guess it's I would call it a sort of early stage idea. I just sort of look at it and say there's something I think that might.
There is something. I think the fact that it's how do you get. Do you want to? The NIL stuff is showing some issues.
Yeah.
Is it too young? These guys graduating 4 years of university, they're coming out at 22, 23. They're young. So to get these kids in there at just after high school, that'll be an interesting situation to see how it would unfold.
Yeah. I just think there's such a. One of the things that's true in America is the affiliation with the college is a lifelong relationship.
Well, my affiliation. I follow BYU football. Yeah. The alumni association with the American America is just fantastic.
Runs deep.
It
and I think,
sure does.
Those college rivalries are really, really, what drive it. And as Seinfeld said, you're basically cheering for laundry. It's like, so. But I think with the team sort of orientation around it, I just think it's would be interesting. Anyways, whoever is out there listening to our podcast, take that idea, run with it, make a lot of money, and at least buy us a steak dinner when it's all said and done, right? We're gonna. I do want to come back. I want to get that story from you about New Orleans. I want to talk on the MindTRAK mental golf moment and a few other things before we wrap up. But we're gonna take a break first, and we'll be right back.
This episode of Tough Lies is brought to you by TrueSpec AI Yardage Intelligence. Most golfers use GPS. Smart golfers use data. TrueSpec pairs high-resolution course mapping with AI-powered shot strategy. Through a mobile app that knows exactly where you are on the course, current wind conditions, elevation change, and most importantly, your shot tendencies. It doesn't just tell you the number, it recommends the club, the target, even the smart miss. All you have to do is execute. TrueSpec, AI Yardage Intelligence, because strategy should be automatic. Pressure is not.
Okay, we're back. Tough Lies, the Golfers Podcast. Just a reminder, you should be following us, liking us, subscribing to us, parking our car, solving cold cases, whatever we need. You should be there for us. toughliespodcast.transistor.fm is our website. At Tough Lies Podcast, Instagram. Please make sure to give us a follow. Tell your friends. And we'll keep this pirate ship rolling. So we're back. I want to spend a little bit of time. Why don't we talk about the PGA Tour news? They let go of 56. They laid off, I should say, 56 employees. Brian Rolapp and company. Mm-hmm. Your quick thoughts on that as it pertains to sort of the broader picture of what they're doing?
Well, I'm not thinking that Brian Rolapp is introducing the staff at the headquarters to make a cut, and if you don't make a cut like the players, you don't get paid.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the case.
No.
Yeah, so Brian Rolapp and his crew let go 56 jobs at headquarters in Ponte Vedra Beach. I guess the best way to say, welcome private equity.
Yeah,
this is so. So with the Signature Sports Group coming in and investing billions of dollars into the PGA Tour, as a for-profit company, the CEO is responsible to make the thing cash flow properly. Yeah. And the bottom line of, and like the PGA Tour, if you're not contributing to the success of whatever machine you're pulling, then you are expendable. I think that's, and particularly private equity. They come in, first thing they do is cut. And they've got to find out how lean they can be. And because they're a for-profit company right now, and they got away with it in the past, being a not-for-profit company, but that company. But it's got to be the private equity guys who invested this money. They're going to feel that the PGA Tour is moving in the right direction. Number one, I think that's the first thing that hit me right between the eyes.
Yeah. It's for those who've seen the movie Office Space, it's one of my favorite. There's a scene where they basically these consultants come in to sort of figure out who they want to cut in terms of head count. They're both named Bob, so that's my picture of these two guys named Bob. The firm was called FTI Consulting, I saw. And they basically went in and did an evaluation. And, I think if you're going to modernize the PGA Tour, if you're going to be fan first, like he's saying, I think there's probably a lot of skills that are probably in the past. It's 4% of the workforce. My prediction will be there's more to come. I think this is sort of the first round as they sort of reconfigure the ship. To your point, it's a for-profit organization. They are going to be bottom line focused. And if you're not pulling it, you're not going to stick to
exactly
the bottom line. And it's that's the nature of those sort of companies. And in the end, I think if it serves the fan, great. If we're happier, great. So I did also want to circle back to your New Orleans.
Oh yeah, New Orleans is, I love New Orleans. New Orleans is such a distinct culture. Have you been there?
Yeah. Have you been there? I've been there once for the Super Bowl of all things. I won a trip at a golf tournament.
Okay.
But,
so New Orleans, my experience is Café du Monde and beignets. They're delicious. The food the
food
in New Orleans, food, fun, jazz music, and there's my favorite restaurant in the whole world is on. It was called the Bon Ton Cafe. It's on Magazine Street, right just down the street from the Intercontinental Hotel. And this place was it's been, it opened in 1875. And I think it's called the Bon Ton Prime Rib. But I used to go in there every night and I'd order the Bon Ton Redfish. Now they call it the Gulf or Bon Ton. And it's just the most beautiful, lovely. I'd have the same thing every night. And then have whiskey pudding with bread pudding with whiskey sauce. Nice. And it's so decadent and so lovely. And if you love oysters, if you're a raw oyster eater, they're big and beautiful and delicious. But I got one story. I remember when my buddy who was caddying for me in the summertime, he was going to the University of Toronto and he'd come out after school, my friend Russ Jordan, and we were in New Orleans one time. And this guy's Mensa. This guy's a brilliant guy. And we're going down the street and it's the New Orleans street hustle. These kids, they're, young teenager, 12, 13, 14 years, they're hustling on the street to make money. Sure. Yep. And I'll never forget this. And I fell victim to it my first time. And they can read someone who is a target real fast, who's a tourist. They're looking around, mouth hanging open as you're walking down Bourbon Street. And this kid comes up and he says, man, he says, $10, I can tell you where you got your shoes. And I already know the answer to this. And my buddy's going, well, how the hell he doesn't even know where I live. How the hell is he going to know where I got my shoes? And he says, $10, and I'll tell you where you got your shoes. And the mind of my friend, he's going, there's no bloody way he knows where I got my shoes. And I'm watching this masterful kid, work on this soft target. Yeah. And finally I said to Russ, Russ, you got your shoes on your feet. And this kid blew up on me. He says, man, you in my business. You're taking food out of my mouth. You have no right being in my business. And there's this 13-year-old kid giving me shit for blowing his gig. Yeah, but New Orleans is great. It's just such a lovely place. Yeah. And beware those hot, humid days when you go down Bourbon Street. Been to the Stampede or any place where beer starts to heat and it smells like puke.
Oh yeah. Well, try going there at the Super Bowl. I mean,
exactly. Exactly. It'd be wild.
I have one quick. I'll tell you one quick story. You've sparked a memory, but we were So I went to the Super Bowl. It was actually from a sort of winning ticket at a year-end golf tournament, Suppliers golf tournament. Anyways, so we go. Me and a buddy, and same thing. We spill out to Bourbon Street at whatever time in the morning, the first night, the night before the Super Bowl, and the crowd. There's so many people in the street, you can't sort of. It's like it's really uncomfortable. You're sort of bumping. You can't help but bump into people.
Sure.
Right.
Well, it's crowded.
And so I bump into this guy. Of course, I've had a few pints in me, and I look at him, and he looked at me like he was going to punch me in the face, and I didn't bump him that badly. And I was had a look, and he looked at me, and then his face softened, and he said, "Look, it's loud, but he's like, sorry." He goes, "I just had my pocket picked." Mm. And I was like, "Oh my, that's." Anyway, I'm like, I have a few people like, "That sucks, dude." And he goes, then he leans into my ear and he goes, "And the fucker left a card in my pocket."
Oh, Jesus.
I said, "What'd the card say?" And the card said, "Your pocket has been picked by the best in New Orleans."
That's good. That's a good story. I like that one.
Oh my God.
I like that one.
Best in New Orleans. And he showed me the card. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's madness."
That's
Anyways,
classic.
Yeah, classic.
There's a proud professional with that one. Right?
Yes, exactly. So, want to bring this episode to a close. Is there anything else that we haven't covered about anything on the mental side? I did want. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, here's something I do. Well, you know what? I'm going to save that, but I do want to. I want before we head out, and when we do head out, I do want to give a shout out to my book.
Oh yeah,
shameless plug.
It's coming. Yeah, of course, and it's coming out very soon, right? May
Yes.
20. 2nd?
May 19th.
May 19th. Sorry, my bad.
But I've got the first order in and giving a few out. So
great.
But pre-order, the best thing to do. So when you go into Amazon Books, do not punch in zoology.
Okay.
You will get zoology.
Autocorrect. Those damn autocorrects. I
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
when you punch in Richard Zokol in Amazon Books, then you can go ahead and buy.
Yeah, everybody, please go do that.
Pre-ordered before the release comes out. So we're
I mean,
pushing
based on all the stories that you're sharing here, I mean, the book's going to be fantastic. There's no question about that, and everybody should absolutely go out and get it. I did want to have maybe one last discussion around the Fitzpatrick brothers. I was curious whether you think, what is it going to be like for the Fitzpatrick brothers now that they're on tour together? I think it's really interesting. One of the things they said at the very end of the broadcast is, he's gone from Alex, that is, from flying to Turkey to they're going to be basically in lockstep every week.
And they've been spending many years apart. That'll be interesting.
I think it's going to be very interesting. Yeah,
we're going to find. And one thing I do love, and that's going to be in favor of Alex, is that quite often the younger brother is so inspired by their older brother, and that they can kind of tag along and draft the leader, so to speak, and learn from him. I hope so. It depends, and then you can get some other sibling rivalries where these guys, they fight like crazy. So it'll depend.
Really is. Yeah.
But I think,
when's the last time there were brothers on tour?
Well, there's the Byrams, Kurt Byram.
Right. Yeah, Tom Byram. Yeah, that's a long time ago. Now, right?
That was my age. They were both. They were both my qualifying school, and also they played for UNLV as well. There's probably a couple other. Curtis Strange had a twin brother, Alan Strange, but he never got to the tour. I remember Alan Strange at the 1981 qualifying school. He was there in the finals at Waterwood National. And this is just off the top of my head. So going in I wasn't sure what round it is, first round, second or third. But you can take carts in the qualifying school. So you go to the cart depot and pick up a cart, and he had his foot hanging outside the left side of the cart, down below his foot. Like a lot of people do. And like a lot of people do. And he didn't realize that the wheels were cranked. He was right beside this brick wall. And the wheels were cranked full. He gets in there and foot hanging out, and he jams on the gas and just breaks his foot.
My
Alan
goodness.
Strange. I was right by it, and it was awful. It was awful.
Okay.
But there's a few out there, and Larry Rinker and Laurie Rinker on the LPGA.
Yeah.
So it'll be great. It'll be interesting to watch, because when I think the way I perceived Matt's going in to hug Alex after he tapped in that putt, it was like a big brother. There you go, buddy. And whether you like that rule or not is irrelevant. But the story of it is fantastic, and that was a great one. So there's one thing I do want to talk about next episode, or the episode after that, is this modernization of the rules of golf that's going on. I am not liking these guys allowing to touch their line of their putt. Right. They are, you're able to allowed to flatten imperfections, but you can't use it as to flatten your whole your putt through it. And guys it's unintended consequences that's happening here. I don't like it, so I do want to get into talking about these some of these new rules that make sense and some that don't make sense.
Yeah, and maybe next time we'll talk a little bit about the sort of the weird way that Fitzpatrick lines up putts and that sort of thing. And he just lies flat on the ground like he's a.
Well, what about Camilo Villegas?
Camilo, that's what. Yeah,
with
that
the
old
spider, that was even worse.
Spider.
But
exactly. Anyways, so
just doing push-ups.
Yeah, exactly. So another great week. Thanks again. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us. Tough Lies Podcast.transistor.fm. Instagram @Tough Lies Podcast. Make sure to tell your friends. And thank you for another great week, Richard. And look forward to talking more golf next week.
Lots of fun with you. Thank you.
Join us next week on the Golfers Podcast with Richard Zokol and Colin McDougall.